A female cleaner accidentally walked in on the chairman urinating in the restroom. Shocked, she suddenly slipped. The bucket in her hand flew out. It splashed water all over the chairman as he was pulling up his pants. The woman knew she'd caused trouble and hurriedly explained. Surprisingly, the chairman, hearing her voice, was not angry at all and asked if she was hurt. It turns out that just yesterday, the chairman had a heart attack while waiting for the elevator. Overwhelmed by pain, he collapsed on the ground. He struggled to pull heart medicine from his pocket, but it scattered everywhere. Coincidentally, the female cleaner, just getting off work, saw him. She hurried over and asked about the chairman's condition. Then, she quickly picked up the pills and gave him one to swallow. Fearing for the chairman's safety, she called an ambulance. She only left after the ambulance arrived. As she left, her work ID accidentally fell out. When the chairman's daughter visited him in the hospital, she was worried her father was alone with no one by his side. Fearing he might not survive another heart attack, she urged him to find a companion quickly. The chairman thought of the female cleaner who had saved him. He instructed his daughter to use the work ID to find the woman. Unbeknownst to him, the woman had filled in for a co-worker yesterday. The name on the work ID actually belonged to her colleague. The woman wanted to return the ID to her co-worker, but couldn't find it in her bag. Just then, her co-worker was called by the chairman's secretary. Her co-worker, thinking she'd been caught for skipping work, planned to deny taking time off. To her surprise, the chairman didn't bring it up. Instead, he returned the work ID to her and gifted her a 500 square meter villa. To keep everything for herself, the co-worker deliberately hid the fact that the woman had covered her shift. She couldn't let the chairman know the woman had saved him. The next day, she moved into the 500 square meter villa with her son. The neighbors were envious when they saw it, but when the woman found out, she was puzzled. She had never heard her co-worker was dating a wealthy man. Meanwhile, the chairman sent his driver to pick up the co-worker for dinner. While he was in the restroom, the woman suddenly entered, startling him. In her shock, she dropped her bucket, splattering water all over the chairman. Initially, the chairman was angry, but upon hearing her voice, he felt it was familiar. He wondered if she was the cleaner who had saved him. He reconsidered, thinking he might be mistaken. Since he'd hurt his back from the fall, the woman kindly offered to help him to the hospital. Meanwhile, the assistant was driving the co-worker to dinner when the chairman called, canceling the meal due to his injury. Curious about the cause, the co-worker followed them to the hospital. Seeing the woman with the chairman, she was furious. She called the woman's daughter-in-law, saying the woman was with a strange man at the hospital, acting close. Soon, her son and daughter-in-law stormed into the hospital room. They found their mother with a man. They suspected an improper relationship, even though the woman explained he was her boss. Her son and daughter-in-law refused to believe her. She had no choice but to make them leave. Her daughter-in-law mentioned her co-worker had just called with this story. Just then, the co-worker entered with a pot of rib soup. She suggested the chairman switch to a private room to avoid being disturbed. When the woman returned, she found the chairman gone. Realizing he might be angry, she assumed he'd changed rooms. She decided to apologize at work later. She took out her phone to ask her co-worker why she had spread rumors about her relationship with the chairman, but the co-worker had left her phone in the hospital room. As she returned to get it, the chairman had already answered the woman's call.